a U.S. Navy veteran, an author, a Christian, and him come from the parish. Clarendon, did I see that right? I saw that right. So let's welcome Jason Mills to the guest room. Hello, Sir Mills.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure. We like to hear stories of persons who have succeeded in different areas and aspects, who've traveled the world, who've experienced different things, and particularly when them come from Jamaica, and I'm biased, particularly when them come from Clarendon. So I hope you're ready to tell us lots of stories, Mr. Jason Mills.
Most definitely.
Hi. So let's start off with what it is that you do now.
Well, currently I am an employee of the federal government. I work for the United States Department of Justice in the legal capacity. I'm also an author of 15 books.
15 books. That's a whole lot. Do any of them talk about when you were growing up in Clarendon?
And just to correct, I'm an author of Christian books.
Christian.
Okay. I'm author of 7 books and co-authored 3 books.
Thank you for that fix. All right. So, but the question remains: do any of
those
them?
Books, Yes, 2 of those books focus on my upbringing in Clarendon. One of them is Love Conquers All, which was written in honor of my late grandmother, Curly Rochester Mills, who is from Sangonetti, Clarendon. And another book, Lily, A Chosen One, which was written to honor my aunt, Lily Mills, who is from Sangonetti, Clarendon as well, and the impact they've had on my life.
Sounds like you're from Sangonetti, Clarendon, sir.
I definitely am.
Share with us some of your early memories. What do you remember doing? Running up and down, playing marbles? What were the things that you still have in memory?
Yes, definitely. I remember climbing trees a lot. I remember one time I even fell out of an apple tree with my cousin Danny, and I were climbing apple trees, and I was selfish by going up top and reaching an apple and eating the apple on a branch and laughing at her, and I fell off the apple branch and hit the ground.
Oh no!
And then Danny was laughing at me, my cousin. So I have very fond memories, man, climbing trees, playing marble, eating a variety of different fruit and foods. Memories with my beloved grandmother, Curly Rochester Mills.
What do you remember about Grandma?
Different crops, as well as with my grandfather, Fix Albert Mills, as well.
Okay, so you remember planting with Grandma. Is it that there was a farm, or was it a backyard garden type situation?
We had a huge farm, in Sangonetti there and also in the Lowwoods. So my grandparents then plant a variety of different crops, and I used to assist them in the gardening.
And this was, of course, when you came home from school or before you went off to school. What were your school days like?
My school days was wonderful. I attended Sacred Heart Academy in Christiana, and my grandparents, especially my grandmother, was very supportive of my education, as well as other relatives in the family. And so education was always a priority for me. And that's why I had a very good foundation at Sacred Heart Academy. And then afterwards, I went off to the Carteret College in Manchester. So I lived in Manchester for 2 years.
Talk about the Carteret for us. What are some of the things you were involved in while a Carteret student?
Track and field. I was very big in track and field. I actually was a part of the first group of students that went to boys champs at the Carteret College. So I made a little history there. So I was big in track and field. I was big in the drama club as well. I had a nickname. They called me Drama Man because I was big on drama. And I was also in Cub Scouts. Scouts, yes, that's what it's called.
You remember any of your nuts? You remember any of your nuts from your scouting days?
You know, it's funny because when I was in the Navy, I had to tie knots as well, and I didn't remember any. And then I had to relearn it in the Navy. I know I forgot everything, so I didn't.
So I'm glad you brought in the Navy, because that now is the U.S. Navy. But here you are, based on the conversation, a student at the Carteret College. What happened in between? How you reach U.S. Navy?
So what happened is I migrated at the age of 14 years old from 10th grade, and then I migrated to New York City, where I finished up high school and then went off to college and did some of my studies in New York City.
What did you study? What were you studying at that time?
My bachelor's degree is in criminal justice.
Okay.
So I studied criminal justice, and then afterwards I worked in that field for several years. I worked at the DA's office in the Bronx and other areas.
When you work in the DA office, the only thing we know about DA office is what we see on Law and Order. So what kind of things did you do?
Well, my role at the DA's office at the time was to pretty much draft what they call accusatory instruments, which are pretty much the affidavits of criminal accusations. So that was my primary role there at the DA's office in the Bronx.
What is an affidavit of criminal? Simple language for us, Jay.
Oh, sorry for using these languages. Yeah, it's pretty much a document that draft the charges against the defendant.
Okay. And then what was your next?
My role was to pretty much draft the charges and then have it signed off from a supervisor and assistant district attorney, and then that case went to arraignment.
And how did you move from there to the Navy?
So after I did that, I moved into social service for a little bit, where I worked at a foster care agency in Manhattan for several years, Catholic Guardian Services, because I wanted to explore that area a little bit, because I was thinking about doing a master's in social work. And while I was there working in a therapeutic foster care program, I then transitioned. I decided that I was going to serve in the Navy.
And Mr. Jason Mills from Sanguinetti Clarendon entered the U.S. Navy. How was that for you in terms of what you expected and what the reality was?
It was a very big transition, because nobody in my family served in the military. So it's not like I came from a military family. So it was a culture shock for me joining in the first place. I didn't know how to swim, and I had to stay several weeks extra in boot camp just to learn to swim, to pass, to get into the Navy. I was stationed in Virginia, where I served all my time there. And it was a very, very big challenge for me. I joined when I was a little older at 27. So the transition was very difficult. But then after I adjusted, I learned a lot of very important life skills and discipline that helps me to be successful in life today.
Though most of us will never know what that's like. What kind of life skills? Can you share a little story? This did happen one time. Are there particular memories?
I was stationed on a U.S. carrier, aircraft carrier, which is the largest type of warships in the world. And while on the ship, some of the things I learned from my senior staff is how to juggle different things at once, how to multitask, how to do different things on the ship that requires different skill set. So 1 minute you can be doing something in damage control, then the next minute I'm doing paperwork. So when I'm on the ship, I'm doing multiple different things, and that's a skill that I learned when I was in the Navy.
When did your writing side come to fruition?
That started when I was in my late teenage years, about 19 years old. I started writing poetry, actually, and then I moved into writing books. My first book was published at the age of 23, called A Butterfly Restored.
Called what?
A Butterfly Restored.
A Butterfly Restored. And what was that about?
Yes. So my first book was talking about spiritual transformation. I pretty much took what I call seven keys from the Bible, which are spiritual keys, I call them, to experience spiritual transformation. And I delved into those 7 keys. And that was pretty much my first work.
And after that?
After that, I wrote a second book called A Butterfly Restored Part 2. And then I moved into I did a part 2 to that book. And I went deeper into different aspects of the transformational process.
And what are some of the titles of those other books?
The other books the other one was Wounded Soldier, A Greater Purpose. And then I wrote Love Conquers All. I wrote Art of Brotherhood, dedicated to my late friend Kenyon Roy from St. Elizabeth. And I also wrote Lily, A Chosen One, which is my most recent work.
Could you say the name of the friend again from St. Elizabeth?
Kenyon Roy is his name. He passed away several years ago, and that book, Art of Brotherhood, was a work to honor him.
That is beautiful. You also co-authored. Why co-author?
Well, I always vowed to myself that it's important to help develop other authors. And so for the last several years, I've been focusing on that, picking out some authors and helping them to develop the craft and coming alongside them to help them with the process in writing and publishing their works.
And how do folks find you? Do you have an author's page, or because I'm sure people are now curious to see what your perspectives are and the things that you write about. Where do they find you online?
They can find me on Facebook at JQuest. I write under the moniker JQuest, JAYQUES, or on Instagram as well under the moniker JQuest. And I also have a website called www.takeflightpublishing.org.
Say that again. Take what? Take flight?
Yes, takeflightpublishing.org.
.org. So when you're not writing and when you're not working for the federal government, what are the things you like to do? We only have we don't even have any time. Quick, 30 seconds.
What I like to do, I like nature parks. I like adventure, traveling, exploring, trying different things. And sometimes I just like to relax and do nothing. Sometimes I'll read, and the irony I'll leave you with is that even though I'm an author, I don't like to write. So I don't really enjoy the writing itself, but I do it because it's the only way for me to communicate the best way. It is the best way. And when you communicate your thoughts, you inspire others, you are collaborating and teaching others. And we love when you can share your talents in multiple ways. So, Mr. Sanguinetti, thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. And thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. You too. Jason Mills, author, U.S. Navy veteran, Jamaican, inside the guest room. Let's go.